Yeah, and personality, I feel like personality is so fun. Like we were getting into the ego thing, but it's like I feel like ego is part of what helps form a personality, and personalities are so interesting. It's like I don't want to bypass the personality. I want to bring the personality along for the ride, you know?
Totally.
But I love like when somebody's like, I don't believe that, or I feel differently, and I'm like, ooh, tell me more. I like the way you said that.
Literally, like, spill the tea.
Tell me. What?
Which I think is such a healed perspective, like one that I know I haven't always had access to. Like when people disagreed with me, like that used to be a button, and maybe sometimes is still a button, but I definitely have a better relationship with it now to where it's a lot closer to what you're saying, where like somebody was telling me, kind of giving me a compliment and saying like, oh, I just resonate with so much of what you say. Some of the stuff not really, but and I'm just like, what was that stuff? Like, let's talk about that. Like, what is it about me that makes you make that face? I want to hear more. Yeah, I was like genuinely curious. And I was like, that feels really good to not feel attacked, but to feel curious about where we might be different. So, yeah, that feels good.
And likely the things that I feel like the things that we disagree on are quite surface level generally for people. And I'm like, oh, change my mind. Like try changing my mind. You know what I mean? Like I kind of I like that too. Like tell me like, yeah, it did take me a while. I think I was hurt a lot when I was younger. Like I have these values and these things, and then if no, but if you're outside of that and you like challenge me, then I'm like, it hurts my feelings because it did feel like my identity.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, I think now it's just more fun because I like to float above identity for fun.
Yeah.
And also like I like apologizing now if I have offended others. I mean, I'm not looking for offenses. I feel like if I've offended people, I kind of like I'm open to them telling me. You know, like I kind of have this rule like, well, if I've offended somebody, it's really up to them to tell me. And then if they do, like I'm open to it, you know, and open for a closer bond because of it. But also I just don't get offended that easily anymore by attitudes.
Like I'm getting there.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It it's not something that came easily. I don't know when it started, but when it did start, I was just like, this is fun. I've been around other people, generally guys. Guys tend to be able to just like they don't my experience with guys is that they don't, and this isn't every guy, obviously, but they don't tend to take things personally. They're just like, oh, what is that? You know, they're not like, what does that mean? What did you think? What is that? What did that influx mean or whatever?
Yeah.
Like with Josh, especially, well, any of my boyfriends or husband, when I had one, he didn't take things personally like I did. I was always like, well, what are you thinking? What did you mean by that? And they're like, literally nothing. Literally nothing. I have nothing to say. I didn't stew over it for like 3 hours like you did.
So true. Yeah, like that's like a kind of it feels like a kind of like the typical masculine energy is more like that. I was just having this conversation with my mom about like I have pretty basically all my cousins are we're all girls for the most part. There's like one boy on each side and the rest are girls. And then the generation before me was like all boys and one girl, at least on my dad's side. Um there wasn't really cousins on my mom's side the generation before, but yeah, like she was just telling me how like all the my dad and all of his boy cousins, they are just like best friends. They have been best friends for so long. Like there's never been any drama. It's never really been an issue, and they just are like buddies, and that's how it's been. And then with like the girl cousins in my generation, it's not been like that. It really hasn't been like that, and things have been taken very personally, and it's been very like competitive with each other, and it's interesting to see the difference in the dynamic, I guess.
Mm.
But that's of course like just kind of feminine energy versus masculine energy, and depends on like what mixture each of us is bringing to the table.
Yeah,
Definitely like regardless of gender, I think, or your physical like sex.
for sure, for sure. I'm just saying in general, my experience with guys has taught me a lot about letting things roll off my back.
Mm.
Just in general.
So it's kind of like just embracing your own masculine energy, maybe.
Yeah, like, oh, I want a piece of that, like in me. Yeah, I'd like to activate that. Yeah, I have it. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'd like to activate that. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Because I think I have like a little bit of a different experience, which gives me just a different perspective on like biological gender in general, because I am such like a masculine female. And I have there was me and my three brothers, and then there's 10 grandkids total, and I'm the only girl. And we all grew up like here in town, and we're all within like maybe 5 years of age between like the maybe 8 between like the oldest and then the youngest. So very close in age. So very much grew up with them, and like basically grew up as a boy, like for the most part. Like I had to wear their hand-me-downs because they were bigger than me. I did what they wanted to do because they had the votes. Like it was a very democratic situation, and we were operating mostly in a masculine way. That's what we did. We rode four-wheelers, we played kickball, we like did all that stuff and like watched the Adam Sandler movies and like basically grew up a boy. And so yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time with labels in general, but like anytime we start saying like men this or women this, like I instantly am like, I don't fit your stereotype. And I have a hard time like with stereotypes in general. I feel like that's part of what my energy is for in this
Yeah.
place, is like, how helpful are they really? You know,
Yeah.
when it's like, yeah, I want to activate my own masculine side. I want to, for me, it was very much the opposite. Like I had to set out to like activate my feminine energy because masculine was like all I knew. I didn't have any, even the women in my family were like very stoic, very like do your work, get your business done, very analytical and like spreadsheets and finances and bookkeeping, and like there wasn't really any feminine emotional beings in my upbringing. So I didn't know what that looked like until way later, when it was like kind of the be the parent you wish you had kind of quote that led me into, I think I need to get in touch with my emotions. I needed somebody in my childhood who was in touch with their emotions, and there wasn't one. Like nobody around me had emotions, and I thought I was like the one alien being on the planet that came with these stupid things. That was little girl Carly talking. She's still kind of resentful. It was hard. It's hard to like be the black sheep, the one with emotions in a sea of testosterone, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my experience. And yeah, I think it just really does depend on like what did you come with and what did you choose as your introductory experience, you know?
Yeah, that's so interesting too that you like felt that emotional energy. Like would you say you like felt that energy inside of you and it kind of just made you feel different from the people around you?
I had like just like really big emotions always. And the Leo moon, like I'm very dramatic, I'm very theatrical when it comes to how I feel. I'm good at conveying that to an audience. And yeah, like okay, so for example, our family dog like got hit on the highway one day, and like I cried for probably like 2 days. I was like devastated, like inconsolable, and like my brothers are laughing about it when they tell me, and like that's how they cope, is like laugh through the pain or whatever. But like, then they're making fun of me because of like my big emotions and like, God, get it together. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, and so it wasn't even so much like my parents or anything. Usually it was more like these boys that are just like freaking constant in my experience, like welcome to the third house and siblings. But yeah, it's like they were mirrors that told me it wasn't okay that I possessed this energy. And so I was taught that like keep it as under wraps as you possibly can because otherwise they will torment you over it. And so I learned how to bottle, and then I, had to go through all of the like turmoil that basically led to the video I released on the channel this morning. Like I had to figure out like you got to get in touch with that energy. You cannot expect it to just hang out in there indefinitely. It'll eat your lunch. It'll come for you. And it did over and over again. So yeah, it was like you have to find balance. Otherwise, like I don't think we can survive like that. Like I think when we're out of balance on either side, like it's incredibly painful to keep part of who you are locked in the basement. That
Definitely.
doesn't work. I don't think that matters like on gender, we all need both. Otherwise you're going to be really, I don't know, like in resistance. Like, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, even like I'm just thinking back, like being surrounded by more so like feminine energy, like females. I didn't learn how to express my emotions. Nobody taught me that. I saw everybody around me shoving their feelings down too. So it's like they were females, yes, and they had this emotional energy, but they didn't know how to work with it either. And I never really learned how. And that's like, that's what I'm doing right now in my life is learning that and figuring that out. And it just makes me think how like definitely like the masculine expression is much more valued in society in general. And so even like being surrounded by feminine energy, like nobody knew how to embrace it, how to like love that in themselves, basically. And so like it makes me feel excited, I guess, to like learn how to do that and then be able to start showing that and like passing that along to future generations of boys and girls, like learn how to embrace your feminine energy because that's not something we're really inherently taught. And we're more so like the masculine expression is definitely like prized, like being ambitious and just kind of that more like outgoing energy, which is super important. Like, there's no doubt about it. But I just, yeah, would love to see more people like love and embrace their feminine energy because we do all have it, even if you're surrounded by males, like they've got it in there somewhere. It might not be dominant in them, but it is in them and most likely is something that they are also shoving down, even though they might not realize it. So it's, yeah, we can all just embrace and love our feminine energy. I think it would be better. Like, it'd be just a good thing for everybody.
Yeah.
So
Both of them.
Good for us for learning how to, strike a balance and embrace them both.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah.
And honestly, like that's such a helpful reflection for me because I've told that story quite a bit, like that I didn't learn how to express my emotions or like work with them because I grew up around men, basically. And like, kind of, is that true? Is that why you didn't learn? Because now here you are with this story about you grew up around mostly women and you didn't learn either. So my story doesn't hold water anymore. And that was probably helpful to like point out the hole in this story, which is again, gender has nothing to do with it.
The more we think
Feminine energy is new to us, maybe. Well, not anciently, but more modernly, very newer to be expressed and embraced and valued. Yeah.
Yeah. My mother didn't express her emotions either. She expressed her emotions. She expressed love through physical care. I mean, she was a Taurus. I don't know the rest of her chart. I wish I had gotten that. But yeah, through physical care and like physical, like I know I was physically cared for and like spent a lot of time with me. And then when they divorced, I moved with my dad and my brother to another state, and my dad was um super abusive and super hated women, hated the feminine, probably hated the feminine in himself. And so then I got the brunt of that energy pushing me down. And I was already like, I had grandparents and aunts who were emotionally loving and caring. So I could cry with them and like be affectionate and stuff like that. So thank goodness I had that. So I never stuffed down the emotions. I just ended up having friends and my friends' families. And then my boyfriend in high school, his family was very loving. So in some ways, I feel like angels were always given to me, in the midst of stuff, like continuously over and over, angels that I can look back on that helped me heal and really keep keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really a good point too, that like it's not just our families, and like there are other people who come into our lives surely not on accident, like to show us these things and to be those examples. And yeah, there are earth angels, and they signed up to serve that role for us. Yeah, that's nice.
That is nice. Oh,
It's
You
cool to
got
think about like being that for somebody else too. Like the more we can do this for ourselves, then we can be that for somebody else. And that's a really nice thought. That like they don't have to be our kid or like necessarily our blood. Like we can still be that example and have that like positive impact on other people, which is really cool.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that big time. I feel gratitude. I feel gratitude and enough space from that portion of my life to where I'm like, I want my cup overfloweth. Not every day. I mean, I get tired and stuff like that, but literally that grace that was given to me, I want to give back so badly because it was healing. And I'm appreciative. I'm grateful, grateful.